Okay, so this video is part 2, and the last video we talked about the corticonuclear fibers, which are part of the pyramidal tract of the descending tracts of the spinal cord that help us control our body. The other type is the corticospinal fibers. So again, from the name cortico, it's starting from the cerebral cortex. Spinal, they're gonna go down to the spinal cord. All right. So let's zoom in first to the lateral one, and then we'll explain the anterior one. So corticospinal fibers are fibers that go from the cortex to the spinal cord. Some of them are found laterally in the spinal cord, and some of them are found anteriorly. So let's see what the difference is, and let's zoom into the lateral corticospinal tract. Okay, now I left these two fibers just as a reminder of what we explained in the last video about the corticonuclear fibers, and I drew this in blue as a reminder that I told you back there. Some of the fibers, they continue going down. Okay, but however, I'm gonna now redraw this in yellow again, because we said that we're gonna refer to our upper motor neuron fibers in yellow and the lower ones in orange. So again, the nucleus is found in the cerebral cortex, and the neuron would like to go to the spinal cord. So first of all, it has to pass via the brainstem. Now it passes via this structure in the medulla, and I drew it in a way that looks like a triangle, because this is known as a pyramid in the medulla. Okay, so let's say this is the left and this is the right sides of the human being, the simplified human being. So this is the upper motor neuron again, so that we don't forget the color code. The upper motor neuron, it goes from the cortex, brainstem, exits through the pyramid, and then it has to go laterally, right? Because we are talking about the lateral, lateral tract. So it'll either go laterally over here, or it'll either go laterally over here, right? Now, there is a big difference between these two cases, because number one, as you can see, I wrote 90 and 2%. So 2% of the lateral corticospinal tract stays on the same side, aka it stays ipsilateral, and 90%, so I'm gonna make this much thicker, okay? And 90% of the lateral decussates and goes to the other side, and it becomes contralateral. Right? This is all happening to the upper motor neuron. We still haven't synapsed with the second order neuron or with the lower motor neuron. Tamam? So we have the lateral that has decussated, and then there's this ipsilateral that didn't decussate. It stayed on the same side, and it's also found laterally on the spinal cord. And then they're going to synapse at the anterior, what do they call it? The anterior horn of the spinal cord, and they're going to synapse with an anterior horn neuron, and then the motor function, or like it goes to the whatever skeletal muscle we have over here. Because again, remember, pyramidal, voluntary, skeletal muscle. So this is the skeletal muscle over here. So yep, the lateral corticospinal tract, it goes down laterally. Some of it, 2% stays on the same side, 90% goes to the opposite side, and then they do synapse with a nucleus that is found in the anterior horn of the gray matter at some point. So yep, this is all about the lateral. So this is 90 and this is 2%. This gives 92% of the corticospinal fibers. So 92% are lateral. And now let's talk about the 8% that is found anteriorly. All right? So again, I'm gonna remove this. Again, I drew it first in blue just as a reminder from the blue that I drew in the first video. Okay, and now I'm gonna draw the upper motor neuron of the anterior corticospinal tract again. And again, it's gonna go down, it wants to go to the spinal cord, it exits via the pyramid of the medulla over here, and then it needs to go downstairs, okay? So it goes to the spinal cord, and it has to keep going down in the anterior region. Notice here it was lateral, because lateral corticospinal, but over here it's anterior, so it has to stay in the anterior bit, or the anterior part of the spinal cord. Anyway, so then it will keep descending in the anterior bit, and it will not decussate. It's gonna stay ipsilateral just like our friend over here. So people who are direct, stay in the same, who stay like straight in their path, they don't go right or left, they are very few. Most people change their ways. Anyhow, regardless. So the 2% and 8% are ipsilateral, they're direct. And then eventually it synapses with a nucleus in the anterior horn of the gray matter, synapsing with a second order neuron with a lower motor neuron, and then it's going to go to some skeletal muscle to provide voluntary control. Okay? Because again, this is all under the umbrella of pyramidal tracts. Pyramidal tracts, why pyramidal? Because they pass via this pyramid in the medulla. It represents the voluntary control of our muscles, and eventually this is all to control the muscles that we have in our body. So this all is the pyramidal part of the descending tracts of the spinal cord. Let's go again to big picture. Spinal cord, ascending tracts, descending tracts. Descending tracts, 3 types: pyramidal, extrapyramidal, autonomic. The pyramidal gives voluntary control of our muscles, and it's further subdivided into corticonuclear and corticospinal. The corticonuclear fibers, we call them 1A. The corticospinal fibers are further divided to lateral and anterior fibers. The lateral is further subdivided to 90% and 2%. 2% that is ipsilateral and 90% that is contralateral. So again, we have the spinal cord, and the spinal cord, some of it is ascending and some of it is descending, okay? And then the descending has 3 types, right? So type 1 is the pyramidal, and then types 2 and 3 are the extrapyramidal and the autonomic. And then this pyramidal, which voluntarily controls our muscles, it is of 2 types, either corticonuclear or corticospinal. And then the corticospinal can be either anterior or lateral. And then the lateral can be either ipsilateral or contralateral, right? And the anterior is direct anyway, it stays ipsilateral. The anterior or the ipsilateral is, is 8%. The ipsilateral of the corticospinal, of the lateral one, is 2%, and this is 90%. 90 plus 2 plus 8 equals 100, and this 100 is in addition to this corticonuclear, they give us the pyramidal control of our skeletal muscles. And yeah, this is basically gives us cranial nerves, okay? And this is basically the one that gives us spinal nerves. And that's it.